Hi everyone, welcome back to another review in the James Bond franchise. I'm Ross, you're at this channel, which is Ross Vlogs. Thank you very much for returning. My previous reviews have gone up: Dr. No, From Russia With Love, Goldfinger, and this one here is the fourth entry from 1965, Thunderball, starring Sean Connery. Again, he's back and he is phenomenal. But let's get into the movie as a whole. Again, the deal is that I work out the entire length of the movie. I actually did it in 2 sittings. I did it on a very, very, very hot day in Melbourne. Like it was a warm day. It wasn't super hot, but it was warm. But I watched the entire movie in kind of like in about a 4-hour period. That's what I have been doing. Going forward, I know it will be different because I started watching You Only Live Twice. I've watched like 20 minutes of it the other day and I've got to get back onto it. But I wanted to get this review out so that I had a fresh mind, because I started writing down a couple of my thoughts. And as I was doing it, I'm like, and then James Bond travels to Tokyo. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. That's You Only Live Twice. Like, what are we going on about here, mate? Come on. So yeah, that's that. Now I've got a lapel mic here, so I'm hoping the audio is good, because I am trying to improve my audio. I've got a front light there. I've got a side light there. I don't have any other light this way, so I've got kind of like a shadow, which I will fix. But that's beside the point. We're here, we're talking about Thunderball. And also, I hope everyone out there watching is doing good. Thumbs up if you are. If you're not doing good, let me know in the comments. We can have a discussion. It's as simple as that. Or my Instagram will pop up on the side here. Scan the QR code and let's have a chat. DM, whatever you want to do, I don't care. We'll have a chat. Now, Thunderball. Thunderball is a movie that I very much enjoyed. I am going to put that straight out there now. I know that in the past I have read reviews, watched reviews on YouTube, and it's been a decisive movie. The reviews have been either it's boring, there's too many underwater sequences, it's overly long, it's dragged out just for the fact that they want to drag it out. There's a lot of things, and every single thing that I just mentioned is in some way or another, it is true. There are parts in this movie where it is boring, a little bit slow. There are parts, underwater sequences especially, where it does drag out a little bit. There are parts in this movie where it just can get bogged down in too many unnecessary things happening. There's a lot of characters that are introduced by name for no reason at all, really, because they either get killed off soon after or they're kind of just forgotten about. In saying all that, it doesn't matter. The film is really fun. It's like, we should start it off. The movie starts off with James Bond in Paris, or France, and he's attending a funeral of a enemy agent, and he finds out that the agent's not actually dead, goes in there, punches the widow, which turns out to be the guy dressed up. And then he uses a jetpack. This is James Bond, uses a jetpack to escape, to jump into his Aston Martin, and then drives off. That's just the pre-title sequence. It's brilliant. It's got the usual editing tricks where they speed up the frames to make it go a bit quicker. It's got great action in the start. Bob Simmons, who is the stunt guy, who was the original person that did the, the gun barrel sequence, he now gets an actual role as the enemy at the beginning of the film, and he gets killed by Bond, of course. But the moment where Bond puts on a jetpack and actually flies off, yes, they filmed a sequence on the set with, or in the soundstage, I should say, with Sean Connery pretending he's flying with the jetpack. But the actual scene itself, where the jetpack flies and lands, was all done for real. It was an actual working jetpack. The guy that used it or piloted with the jetpack on was actually there. He wore a helmet for safety reasons. He landed, and then Sean Connery takes over. But this was all real. This was not fake. This is something that I've wanted to address for a while, is that the Bond movies, when they started, really did push practical effects and stunt work to the forefront. Like, as the movies go on, you're going to see amazing stunts and amazing set pieces that happen, fight sequences, underwater scenes in this movie alone are just phenomenal. But anyway, he lands in the jetpack, jumps in the Aston Martin, and then we go to the title sequence, the theme song, which is Thunderball, as sung by Tom Jones. And Thunderball to me has always been an absolute belter of a song. I love the theme song for Thunderball. I don't know what it is, and this is going to sound bad, but it's not. It feels to me that I'm in a reception, like at a wedding, and you've got the house band just playing off in the background while everyone's chatting and eating. Every single time I hear Thunderball, that's what I hear. And that is in no way bad. That is a good thing, because that's really good. And when I watch this movie and I hear the Thunderball theme at the beginning, that's what it gets to me like. And it's, as I said, it's not a bad thing. Anyway, the whole plot of the movie is... Let's get to the plot of the movie. The plot of Thunderball is that Spectre has returned. Remember, Spectre was there during Dr. No from Russia with Love. Then we had Goldfinger, who was not a part of Spectre, so it was kind of like a standalone adventure. Goldfinger was in Goldfinger. And then in this film here, Thunderball, Spectre returns, and they are stealing, or they have stolen, 2 atomic bombs, 2 atomic weapons. They've stolen it during a live training exercise, and they are now threatening the US and the UK with blowing up one of their capital cities if they do not get £100 million. And they've got, well, the US and the UK have got 7 days to reply, or else that's what's going to happen. So the whole movie is Bond, actually all of the 00 agents. There's a sequence where we actually see all of the 00 agents in a room at MI6, and Bond shows up, and all of the 00 agents are there, all 9 of them, and they're given the task of Operation Thunderball is the mission name, and they have to go out and find where this plane went down, because it was in a plane and Spectre removed the atomic bombs. So where the plane went down, find the bombs, and pretty much stop them from blowing up a capital city. So Bond realizes that, hang on a second, I know this person, I saw him, and he has a sister, and the sister's last known area was in Nassau. So that's Bond's mission now. He has to go there, find Domino, who is the sister, and see what she knows, and see what leads he can get from her. And then it turns out that the guy that orchestrated the whole scheme to steal the 2 atomic bombs is Spectre Agent number 2 named Emilio Largo. And he's actually housed in Nassau, and he did steal the bombs, obviously. That's the whole plot. And he's got them in Nassau on his boat, which is Disco Volante, is his like yacht, is his boat. So Bond goes to Nassau, sweet talks and persuades Domino to help him find the bombs and then get the bombs before the 7 days are up. But on his mission there, he is introduced to characters, which is brilliant, but he's introduced to characters Emilio Largo, who is, again, Spectre Agent number 2. And he's also introduced to Largo's, kind of like, she's a Spectre assassin called Fiona Volpe. And she is brilliant. And like brilliant. She is the femme fatale. She is, if everyone has seen GoldenEye, which was like really super popular in the 90s, especially because of the N64 game. But if you've played that or you've watched that movie and you know Xenia Onatopp, Fiona Volpe is pretty much that character 30 years before that character even existed. Fiona Volpe is sexy, she is charming, she's deadly, she's seductive, she's the whole package. This woman is an absolute killer. And in the movie, you just see her work her magic against Bond, and it is looking like he is going to get done for. And then, obviously, it's a James Bond film, he's not going to die. But there are sequences in this movie where Connery gets so close to finishing, to ending, and you're like, oh, he was so close, they almost had him. And the best part about it is, in this film here, Largo actually says the reason why they won't kill Bond. He wants to do it, but he can't. Because if he does that, then all of a sudden MI6 will know, hang on, one of our agents died in Nassau. Bond must have been onto something. We've got to go there now, and we are going to find these bombs. That's where they must be. So it's actually a really good in-universe reason as to why Bond survives. It's fantastic.
If Bond had died last night as a result of your hastiness, his government would have known for certain the bombs are here. When the time is right, he will be killed.
Now, there are other characters in the movie that are introduced. Another Bond girl, well, not really a Bond girl, she's an assistant to James Bond in Nassau called Paula. And she's another character. She's a female character that's there. Her and Bond don't have any sort of sexual chemistry. It's just purely work-related. And she actually has a sequence in this movie where she is kidnapped from her hotel room. And I don't know what it is. When that sequence happens, I get so nervy because I know what's coming. I get really nervy when it's happening. I've got like this feeling in my gut, and I'm like, oh, this is really making me not feel good. Like, this is an uncomfortable feeling. But when it happens, and then she kills herself by chewing, I would imagine, a cyanide tablet that they would have hidden back in the day during the Cold War spy films. You really feel really weird about it. And Bond, when he finds out that she's dead, or that she's been kidnapped, he's like right there. Which is really funny because, well, it's not funny that it's happened, but it's funny because in the movie, in Goldfinger, Connery had a very playful, jovial type of attitude throughout the whole film. And it was done well, and it really did suit the film. In this one here, in Thunderball, Connery is extremely playful, extremely jovial. He does not hide the fact that when he first meets Emilio Largo, he is pretty much telling him, he's dropping the name Spectre 3 or 4 times in one sentence. He's pretty much trying to seduce Largo's mistress, who is Domino, directly in front of him. He is not hiding at all who he is. He uses his full name. They both know who each other are, what organisations they're working for, Spectre on one side, MI6 on the other. There is no hiding that fact, to the point where Largo even mentions one of his associates mentioning James Bond, which is an interesting callback because it could have either been Dr. No or From Russia With Love, one of the agents in that. But it is so, like, Bond in this movie just doesn't care. He's got 7 days. He needs to find these atomic bombs, and he needs to find them now. And then pretty much goes to Largo's home, doesn't shy away from the fact that he could be killed. He just goes in there and he's playfully just shooting those clay discs that, get flown off, and then you shoot them as aiming discs. Bond doesn't care. He's there. He just does not care. I love it because he's playful, he jokes around, but when he needs to do the mission, he's down there, he's into it. Now, speaking of down there, let's talk about the underwater sequences. This movie is Nassau, which is the Bahamas. It is one of the most beautiful bits of scenery we have seen in a James Bond movie up to this point. It is absolutely, like, if I could have a holiday right now, if someone paid for me, I would go to Nassau. It is phenomenal. It looks great. And there's just something about the location. When you see the beaches, the water, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Even the city areas where there's people dancing, they've got a sequence later in the movie. It looks absolutely beautiful. Like, it looks like advertisements for Nassau, for the Bahamas. It is absolutely amazing. And the underwater sequences, because there are a lot in this movie that you cannot deny that. The underwater sequences in this movie are shot beautifully. They're not dark. You see exactly what's going on. You can tell, I know that that's James Bond. I know that that's Largo. I know that that's a thug of Spectre. You know who's who, just based on, obviously, the way they've done it is Bond at some points is wearing a very bright orange wetsuit. And it's fine, but you know that that's him. You don't have to think like, oh, I can't follow the action. I don't know what's happening. I'm unsure. Everything's done perfectly. And there have been movies in the past where you watch them and they'll be underwater and you don't know what's going on. And it's like just two people wrestling and they're spinning around each other underwater. And you're like, I can't follow this. Thunderball from 1965 is filmed better than some movies are like now. It is people underwater in scuba gear. It is 10v10 fighting, spears going off, bombs, explosions, and it is all done perfectly. This does have some parts when it's underwater, and it does feel like it slows down a bit. They overly show every single step of stealing those 2 atomic bombs. And I wish they could have shortened that slightly, but I get it. Back then, you wouldn't have seen these sequences all that often. Nowadays, you see it all the time. But in 1965, the James Bond franchise was right up here. It was the top of the top when it came to spy adventure action movies. Speaking of, this movie, when you look back at Dr. No and From Russia with Love, they are purely, for me, they are very much spy movies first, action movies second. Goldfinger was more of a action adventure for me, and Thunderball for me leans heavily toward adventure spy. The whole idea is with the James Bond franchise is they are spy adventure action movies, but I feel like Thunderball for me is when it starts to lean more toward the adventure angle with spy elements. And again, it is no way near being a bad thing. It's good because you're seeing the fantastical elements come into it. Like I said, there's a jetpack, the underwater sequences, there's a lot of them. I mean, Bond's pretty much flying around underwater. He's got scuba gear that's got a propeller on it. And it looks almost like something out of Star Wars. And he's got like little dials on the side that he can hit, which shoot rocket torpedoes flying off. And it's fantastic. He's got an underwater rebreather that is like that big. And everything about it is fantastical. I absolutely love it. And you do have sequences where Q comes into it. And again, Desmond Llewellyn, absolute superstar, gives Bond all these gadgets and still has that kind of annoyed type of personality, plays it like he's annoyed with Bond, which is, you can't deny that. There are parts in it where Bond is with, well, he's with Largo and you feel the tension, but you never quite feel like Bond is in immediate threat. But as I said, Fiona Volpe, when Bond is with her, the tension is there. And it's not that there is sexual tension between the characters. Obviously, he does bed her, spoilers for the bed count. But it is more like you're not sure if she's going to stab him or sleep with him. And that's what I feel like makes this movie really good, because you're not sure if the next scene is going to be Bond in immediate danger or if he's going to be having some fun and adventure and stuff like that. And I find it to be really good. I was pleasantly surprised. And don't get me wrong, I've always enjoyed Thunderball. But every time it's been an underwater sequence, I've always now at that point turned away from the monitor, done something else, and then turned back. This time here, being on the exercise bike, doing the weights, you're focused solely on what is on the screen. And it does make you really watch these movies with a lot more passion. And I find that this is a really fantastic way for me to rewatch the films, to re-experience them. As I said, I do it annually, and this is my beginning of my annual rewatch. So I'll probably watch them again toward the middle of the year, and I'll feel differently about a lot of these films. But as of right now, From Russia with Love is at the top of my list. Thunderball comes in second. Then you've got Goldfinger, and then you've got Dr. No. And I feel like Thunderball, upon more rewatches, could actually go up and up and up on that list. But at the moment, it is the second in the placement. It's a long movie. It's just over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 10 minutes, I believe. But the movie goes quick. It doesn't... like, once you get to the middle half of the movie, toward the end, it does speed up a lot more than that first half of the movie, and I feel like that's the case because you really are setting up what's going on. The plot's very simple, but there is a lot of elements underneath the surface, which is kind of funny because we're talking about water. There's elements underneath the surface that are all playing out to help the final bit of the plot, and it's done well. I absolutely love it. I enjoy the character of Domino. She's sexy, she's seductive, she's beautiful. And she is actually the one that kills... She actually kills Largo at the end. It's not even Bond that does anything. She saves Bond. And then it gets a bit weird with the rear projection on the speedboat. But, look, the movie is brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll give it 2 thumbs up if you want to say that. Second on my rankings so far out of the 4 Bond films. Now... I have the list on my phone. So we're going to go through the list of what I've got on my phone. We've got first of all, let's do the locations visited. There's 3. There is France, England, and Nassau. So 3 locations visited. And like I said, Nassau in the Bahamas is beautiful. It feels like, I want to go there. Please take me. Someone pay for me to go there, me and my wife. Bond's kill count, 21. 21. There is a moment in this movie where Bond gets his final bit of scuba gear, dives into the water, and you've got a battle between like the good guys and the bad guys underwater going at it with each other. Bond comes in and at one point he kills 6, 9, 10, 13 enemies like that. It's sequences where he's flying around, he's shooting them with spear guns, he's cutting their oxygen things, taking off their masks, strangling them, everything. He's just deadly. Like I said, it's a 20-minute sequence and he just goes ballistic on these people. He doesn't hold back. Women bedded. 3. We have Patricia Faring, who is at the health clinic toward the beginning of the film, Fiona Volpe, and Domino. And Fiona Volpe is an underwater sequence. So that's very interesting. I don't know how anyway. Now I've got my total calories. My active calories came to 975. And my total calories was 1,365. And that was done over the time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 22 seconds. And the reason that it's longer than the actual film, which is 2 hours and 10 minutes, is because I had to make sure that the kill count was correct, which meant going back through the sequence and re-watching bits and pieces of it. So I like to make sure that when I've got something, I do it right and I get it correct. Look, what else is there to say? This movie's great. It's definitely worth a watch. I am glad that I brought this review now, because now I'm starting to move into a movie that means a lot to me, which is You Only Live Twice. And I'll explain why that means a lot to me in the next video, in the review of that. But I want to thank every single person that has watched this. I want to thank every single person that has left a comment, left a like. Even if you leave a thumbs down, that's fine. I just appreciate you interacting. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm really enjoying working out. And like I said, I do my weigh-ins once a week, and I am 2.4 kilos down from when I first begun the weight loss as I'm going now. And I am recording this before my next weigh-in, so I won't be able to give you an update on that, but I will give an update by the time I do my You Only Live Twice review, which will be coming out in another week, within the week, soon after this. But that's why if you subscribe, if you hit the bells, whatever it is on YouTube, you will be notified. That's why. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, for supporting the channel, for supporting me, Ross. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate you. And take care of yourself. Let me know in the comments how you're going. Favourite Bond actor, favourite Bond film, everything. I want to know everything, and I really do appreciate it again. So thank you very much. Take care. Have a good day.